11 years back, our story began. I was 23 and Aria 21. We crossed paths at a birthday party hosted by a mutual friend. She was a lively, playful, and self-assured girl who seemed to know exactly what caught our attention. Just a couple of months later, we took the leap and moved in together. I was working in logistics, and Aria was starting her career as a hairstylist. Marriage and kids weren't even on our radar. Instead, we were simply living in the moment, embracing youth with open arms, and it continued that way for over 2 years. Then came a game-changing job offer for me in international transport, promising a more appealing income. Knowing that all the travelling Aria and I enjoyed, both abroad and even locally, required financial freedom, I accepted it right off the bat. I'd be on the road often, usually away for a couple of months, with only a week or 2 at home. Aria never held back, and each time I came back, she greeted me as the warm, attentive, beautiful woman who felt like a wife, though officially, we were still just partners. Aria, why don't we go ahead and make it official? Time to think about kids and start building our own home, I suggested. Not exactly the most romantic proposal, Aria chuckled, but I'm in. The wedding was grand, embodying all her girlish dreams. Knowing how much her career meant to her, we even took a bold step and bought her a hair salon, financed in installments. Life seemed like a picture-perfect family tale, except one thing was missing. Children didn't come as easily as we'd hoped. People constantly asked, "When will you become parents? When do we get to see grandchildren?" We didn't know what to say. Those 2 little lines on the test, those hopes, just never appeared. As Aria hit 28 and I turned 30, she grew more anxious, breaking down more frequently and often shedding tears at any mention of others getting pregnant or having babies in our circle. Then, on one of my longest flights, Aria called, her voice shaky with tears, and said the words we'd been dreaming of. She was pregnant. I was thousands of miles away, unable to hold her, and those next 2 months felt like an eternity. Before our son was born, we managed to get a loan for an apartment under construction, and finally moved out of our rental into our very own place. With our son's arrival, it felt like the start of a whole new life. I thought we had it all: stable income, work I loved, and everything that made my wife happy: a son, a car, an apartment. But Aria started to change. She'd tell me how exhausted she was, how she missed going out with her friends. Almost every cent I earned went to paying off the apartment loan, furnishing our place, and keeping up with the car expenses. The salon's income barely covered its costs: rent, bills, installments to the former owner, and staff salaries. I was doing everything I could to keep things afloat, but money was tight no matter how I looked at it. One day on a job, I had to turn back to base due to issues with a client. On the way back, a friend called, asking to meet. I figured it was one of those times he needed an ear about his latest argument with his wife. We agreed to meet at a local bar he oddly insisted on. We found a private booth, had more drinks than usual, and reminisced about our lives, our kids, and those carefree days of youth. Then, around midnight, we went out to the dance floor, and there I saw her. Aria, my Aria, looking far too tipsy, swaying in a sultry dance with some guy I didn't recognize. The alcohol in my veins froze over in an instant. Aria, who's this guy? What's going on? Where's our son? He's at home with the sitter. Come outside. We need to talk, I said, my voice sharper than I intended. The guy looked uneasy, clearly not wanting to leave, while Dylan just lowered his head, silent. In that instant, it was all painfully clear. why Dylan had chosen this bar, what he'd meant to confront me with. "Yes, Thomas and I have been together for a while," Arya confessed. "Then I suppose it's time for a paternity test," I replied, trying to keep steady. "Leo isn't yours." My legs went weak, my mind blank. All these years I poured everything into my family, living out of a suitcase, sacrificing my time and energy, all to build a future together. And it turned out I'd been clinging to a mirage. The paternity test came back as I feared, and with that, the divorce was quick. I left her the salon, which had become more of a liability than anything else, but took the car and kept the apartment. She and her new boyfriend couldn't manage the loan payments on their own. Within half a year, she and Thomas were done. He couldn't keep up with her demands for an easy, comfortable life. She eventually reached out, asking for forgiveness, claiming regret, even hoping to reconcile. But there was no question for me. Letting a betrayer back into my life, especially with another man's child, wasn't in the cards. Life's simply too short for that.